Okay, can you guys hear okay?
See the top of my head? I'll adjust it. Got it.
There we go.
Hello, everyone. You know. Okay, so it says 9 p.m. on your computer.
I know it's
Looks
not
like
9
3:03 to me.
Yes, it is. Let's rock and roll.
All righty. Welcome, everybody. You're joining us in the Igniting a Passion for PTA Advocacy virtual training workshop, whatever we're calling it. And we're gonna roll with it. It's all a learning curve for many of us, myself, Patrice, transitioning with technology in ways that we haven't utilized it before. But I'm ever so grateful to have this opportunity to see a good number of you on here and to not see the others that are on here. Thank you for joining us. I am Sarah Henris. I'm the New York State PTA Legislation Coordinator. And
I'm Patrice Racklin. I'm New York State PTA Resolutions Coordinator. And Sarah and our passion is advocacy. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, well, I'll actually let you take it away and talk about our passion and why PTA, why our advocacy.
Some important things I do want to share right now is the workshop should be recorded. Do you have the record button or do you want me to do that?
We have
Sarah?
it recorded.
Okay, and they will be available at www.newyorkstatepta.org.
Or NYS, sorry to jump in.
Sorry, NYS. Thank you. And all participants will be muted. And please ask your questions in the chat box. Let me come back. Sarah, you going to pull up our presentation?
Oh, am I, Kyle, pulling up our presentation?
If you are, and I can.
Where's the presentation?
We sent it to you.
Do you want me? Now, I have, you got it?
If you have it, Patrice, you pull it up. If not, I will find it because I have it somewhere.
Okay. Let me get my, hold up. Sorry guys, this is technology at its worst. I have to pull it up. I had it up and I don't see it. Where are you? Come on. Not seeing it. All right, I gotta pull it up. Hold up. Let me get into, oh dear Lord.
Patrice, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
I had it. It disappeared on me.
Just give me a second.
Oh, screen share. Don't go too far.
Yeah, you hit the screen share. I just didn't, I had it loaded and there it is. It disappeared on me.
You're just gonna click on this, double click on the left hand side to move it. Can you guys see it
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Everybody good?
Thank you
All right.
very much.
This is Igniting a Passion for PTA Advocacy. Go for it. Click.
Clicking.
Click. Our PTA mission to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Our core values are collaboration, commitment, diversity, respect, and accountability.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to click. That's our
Perfect.
founding.
Yeah. Why does today's PTA use our voice? Sarah?
Well, basically, we're going to raise awareness to the issues and matters that are affecting children. And particularly, we pay close attention to those affecting children and quality education, health and safety, and equity. And that's for every child. I find it really important for myself. You'll learn as we go through this workshop and get to meet in other occasions that I can be very literal and I love to research. So I find it very important to really understand where it is that we come from and perhaps what spurred on our origins. So why are we in PTA raising awareness to these matters? So Patrice and I are definitely very aware of the fact that PTA advocacy changes lives, period. Our association, PTA, has had a long successful history of influencing policy to promote children's education, health, and well-being. So I want to take you back a little bit in time to 1895. It would be 2 years before we began as a PTA association and were formally organized. So picture this: widespread unemployment, poverty, and the threat of civil unrest. Waves of immigrants are coming to America to escape famines and other deplorable conditions. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, factories and sweatshops are popping up all across the country. Unfortunately, employees are paid a mere pittance for salary, while many of them were paid for their unemployment with their lives and their limbs. This included many children. Children were being denied an education in order to be able to work those grueling hours in life-threatening, dangerous conditions. They were thought of more often as property and pawns for exploitation. So in 1895, men, it was moms at that time, who met specifically at an adult summer education program in Chautauqua Institution. During this summer program, they routinely held discussions about the education system, about children, and about mothers. They considered how the plight of these children and their families could be eliminated. And they found that the link lies strongest between the education of the child and educating the parent. From these early discussions, PTA was organized in 1897 and began to advocate on behalf of children. The first 5 causes that they advocated was: number 1, the creation of kindergarten; number 2, the creation of child labor laws; and number 3, hot lunch programs; 4, juvenile protection systems; and 5, mandatory immunizations. I don't know, sounds to me like we still might be at that nearly 125 years later. And yet,
Absolutely.
we can all boast that we have had a long and successful PTA advocacy efforts. So we'd like to ask you 2 questions. And so Kyle left. You should have an opportunity on the bottom of your screen to be able to participate in the questions. It'll be a yes or no. And I'm going to see how this is going to work.
Right. You can pop in in the chat.
Yes. That's the people. Hold on 1 second.
Right. Or we can
Wait.
also, yeah.
This is not the polls.
No, it's just go in the chat. That's where we'll look.
That's what I'm trying to find.
Or that we can, yeah, because this way we can see everybody. We can see what everybody will be able to see. Make sure you're on the to everyone.
Okay, let me try the pause sharing. Maybe that will work.
Sarah, it's in your participants link in the bottom of the list of participants.
Yes,
Well,
but I'm
want me
I'm
to type it into
sharing.
the chat?
I'm screen sharing right
Well, just say it. Just, yeah.
Okay.
Or you can just say it.
So people can go to their participant list, and in the bottom, they can answer yes or no when you have a poll.
now. Okay. Well, thank you, Amani. Patrice, you should be able to see the responses, so let me know if you're there.
Right. Well,
But
I'm there. I'm there. Just
Okay.
go for it.
So our first question is, does your district have a full-day kindergarten throughout the entire school district?
Okay.
It looks like people are responding. I can see some numbers changing.
Yep.
So I'll just repeat it for you again, and then we'll do a bit of a countdown. Does your district have full-day kindergarten throughout the entire school district?
So far, I haven't gotten a no.
That's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Okay, so we'll give you 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. So where are we at, Patrice?
Did not get any no's, and I believe there's like 44, how many people? 46 people on the, yeah, so we're in good shape.
That is wonderful. Seeing as that was the first issue that we addressed or were addressing as PTA. I do know that it was only a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4, that a district on Long Island went to full day kindergarten. They were half day and every other day another one. So that's great to hear. So far, we at least have that. The second question is going to be, does your school district offer pre-K classes? So preschool classes for all 4-year-old children?
Ooh, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes.
Well, when you
No,
say
no.
all, you have to be admitted and you have to apply, and there's not room for
Holy
everything.
moly.
So that wouldn't be a yes, right?
I'll let you figure.
Yes, to everyone.
Okay.
A little confused on that. Is that for like all kids or because or
I know, I'm sorry, it would be, I think it'd be a little easier if I could have shared the screen properly, but so it's for all 4-year-old children.
that includes children with any type of disabilities as well?
Yep.
Everybody, yeah.
Our school allows 3-year-olds in UPK.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
1,
Thank you, Ron.
2,
All right, so we'll do a
3, 4,
countdown
5.
of 3, 2, 1, and Patrice is counting.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
7, 8. This is hard to count. I got to tell you, I have a lot more no's than I do yeses from what I can see.
Okay.
It's just hard. It's hard to count. There are some that have just a select few by lottery. That's interesting.
Oh, very
Yeah,
nice.
because that Sarah and I had discussed that.
Mhm.
Some people are yes, but part-time. Yeah, the lottery theme seems to be interesting.
Right. So
And
it
some
would
are
seem- I'm sorry, Patrice. There's a little
some
bit-
are yes, some are yes, which is wonderful to see.
Yeah, because it's for the most part, the schools that I'm aware of and talk with do not have a all day, have a pre-K classes for all of their 4-year-olds. They're usually partial, some 4-year-olds, and we know that education and experience and exposure to quality education at early ages is important and vital. So here we are 125 years later, still addressing some of the same issues. And I hope that you always are asking yourself, how do we eliminate these obstacles to the children or for the children so that they can receive a quality education? And then how are we going to do that? How well are we going to do that? And how well are we reaching them all? So I think those are the same discussions that were being held in 1895. What are we seeing happening and what can we do about it? And how can we help everyone? So I think I'm in charge of the slides, so.
Yep, you are. Next.
Thank you. So how does today's PTA raise awareness to these issues? It's vital, and I lost all my notes in my transition here. It's vital that we know and are aware that every single PTA member is an advocate. Whether you may feel like you are a successful advocate or not, or a strong advocate or a vocal advocate, we are all advocates. It's important to know that when we are engaged in advocacy, every time we seek to speak up about an issue, every time we support an issue that matters that will affect the quality education for children. But most importantly, every time that we take the time to learn more about the matter, we're advocating. If we can spend some of that time discussing with our friends, our peers, others around us, those items that we're learning more about ourselves, we are raising awareness to the issue. And in turn, we're advocating. You don't have to be the person standing at a lectern being loud and demonstrative saying, give me, give me, give me, no matter what. That is a very important piece of advocacy, and there's the right person for that. But we can all have a role in this that is vital to the success of changing and making the changes that matter for the children.
Being active in your PTA meeting. Maybe you have an idea for a guest speaker. Maybe you have a friend who has knowledge on a particular topic, which you think would be really great. They could speak, they could train, you could speak or train, you could facilitate that happening. All of that to raise awareness, you can do within your own environment very easily. You can expand out community forums. If you're feeling a little frisky and you want to expand, you can set up panels, conferences, you can have legislative events, be they just for your own PTA or council, born out of those venues, right up to your region, a legislative event in your region, or a legislative summit as far as New York State PTA. And you could do that either in attending or presenting. You can get involved in town halls. You can show up at legislative functions. Perhaps they're asking for speakers or asking for opinions. Your local reps might be doing that. You can show up at things like that. And then, of course, the all-important media campaign. I love Facebook. I love sharing things that I'm doing, issues that I'm aware of and want to make other people aware of on Facebook. You can do it through Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok, whatever it is you're comfortable with, go for it. And if you're really got a little polish to you and you want to hold a press conference or happen to get invited to speak or attend a press conference that a local legislator or a local group, advocacy group is holding, by all means, feel free. And drag people along with you. Your sphere of influence gets larger and larger and larger depending on what you do. And you do not have to be, as Sarah said, the advocate that's comfortable behind a lectern. It's unimportant. You really don't need to do that. Merely by having a meeting with your principal or your superintendent or talking to a friend after school about a particular issue is raising awareness.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patrice. And I'm going to just bounce back to this PTA mission slide because you touched on something really important. We were recently able to participate in a press conference that was held for the No Vape New York campaign. And that little guy is my buddy. He was in 3rd grade. And at first I thought maybe he thought he was making a mistake by asking me a question about vaping. And I turned it back to him and asked him questions about what was he seeing, what was he experiencing in school and in his life, and how by the end he said, I just need to do something about this. And he was going to begin by talking with his uncle. He was going to begin by meeting with his principal and saying, what are we going to do? It may not be in our classes in our schools right now at the 3rd grade. It may not be, because he said, you know what? I don't know for sure, but I'm going to ask and I'm going to learn more about what this is. That's what we're looking to have happen, to raise the awareness. And to whom and where, who do we engage? in affecting change. You know, in our local level, we talked to some of those just now by talking about my little buddy there. At the local level, you can address your schools, your boards of education, the superintendents, other administrators that might be specific to the areas that that matter. The teachers union, your principals, those, when you know, looking to address matters in dealing with the education or the social emotional curriculum, whatever the obstacles and matters are that are affecting them, those are the people you can go and talk with. We're addressing this and looking at these levels from the PTA level. As a parent in the community, they can always come to you. They can always talk with you as a PTA leader and member. Even if they're not on your, you know, that haven't joined your PTA yet. But this is why, you know, you'll see there your local PTA. And, you know, do we need to affect changes in laws? So we'll need to think about who do we talk to, which departments do we talk with at our city, our towns, our villages. You know, who are the community groups in our areas that might be able to address these policy changes? You know, is it a hospital? Do we need supports in health industry? Do we need the police or fire departments involved? You know, depending on the matter, depending on the issue, will depend on who can you engage to affect the change. This could be to ask them to make a change. It could also be to ask them to collaborate, to work with them in making that change. Would you like to
One
speak?
very important thing you have to bear in mind is knowing with your particular issue or concern, especially if it involves visiting or speaking to legislators and representatives, who is it that particular issue falls under? There are some things that are definitively region level, some things that are state level, and some things that are national level. On the national level, we're talking policy, basically. So anything to do with policy for education, that would be that level. So that's why we've split it up this way. State level's your money. For the most part, your money and the guidance and the laws pertaining to education and for children and their well-being. All of your special ed laws are Part 200 of New York State law, so education law. So it's all very, it's all laid out, but it's good to know where to go, who to speak to, who you need to engage, who you need to partner with, who can get you the desired answer or information that you may seek. And on a region level, I know that Sarah and I have been pretty successful on all three levels, but on a region level, it's kind of nice when you can go into your own backyard, meet with legislators at that level, and they are so happy to be able to affect change because they don't have the purse strings and they don't set the policy. They're really doing the enforcement. And when there was an issue with vaping, we had some really great things happening with vaping as far as laws go. But Sarah and a few other people had identified that, gee, what about the point of sale? Well, that fell under our region or our local, the Nassau County officials. And we wound up walking in and having a very successful conversation. And within like a day or two, wow, things changed. And all the fun vape products that were advertised to kiddos were suddenly, you know, not supposed to be in the front with the candy. So that was a huge accomplishment and just so fabulous for us to do. So it's really important to understand these levels. Sarah, I'll let you continue on because you were rolling. Sorry.
Something that came out of that meeting with our county legislators was a relationship. We went in there and we raised awareness to them. We educated them to the matters that we saw, the the problem of vape tobacco products being accessible to children and readily available to children. And later on in time, when they had tobacco issues and matters and questions come up, particularly pertaining to children, they reached out to us. They wanted and sought our input, our opinion, and our thought. And that, you know, very important to develop that relationship. And makes it very effective for us when we have to ask for more changes. So, so what do we want to say? I think we began to talk about that. And we'll always repeat the same things. We want to ask for change. What is it that needs to change? We have to ask for it. Don't make the assumption that somebody knows what needs to happen. You need to make a suggestion and a recommendation on what needs to change. We may or may not be right. We may or may not ever be successful in what we need to have changed, but we need to know that we need to change something. And if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. We talked to our legislators, as I said, about the facts and the statistics. There was nothing personal here. It just was unsafe and unhealthy, and for children to have access or to have the perception that tobacco and nicotine is okay. And they get that perception by having it right there in their face at their eye level and their fingertips. So we talked about the facts and the statistics to that. We cited the rationale behind the ask. We're asking for you to prohibit these products from being sold right there at children's eye level and within their grasp, because that is going to give them the perception that it will not allow them to have the perception that it might be safe. It takes that away. Give them the rationale behind locating it differently or whatever, and share personal stories. We had somebody in our group who shared about the experiences that she had with her child. And at the time when we were first going in to meet and talk about it, she hadn't even thought of that story about her child being there and looking at a product. I forget what the name of the flavor was or the image on the packaging. And it's evolving and coming out as she's there talking, and she's thinking about the impact it had on her child and how she was going to now go home and have another conversation.
Exactly.
But sharing that with the legislator was really important for them to see how easy and innocently it happened. Exactly what we asked for and why we were asking for it. So.
The personal stories are really the key. So if you, and it depends, whatever level you're at, whether you're talking to your superintendent, whether you're talking to a senator in Albany or someone in DC, those personal stories really have unequaled impact. It's from your heart. They really want to know what is it, what's going on, and it can be a personal story about anything. It could be regarding mental health and how we need more mental health dollars. We need more counselors in the schools. That it could be about the stop. I think last year we talked about the stop bus, with the buses. When the flashes go on and off. A little fun fact, somebody actually sat and looked to see how many cars over a specific, it was the average number of cars that did not stop. And it was some ridiculous number like 500 when the flashers were going and the big stop sign comes out, and that creates a really dangerous position for the kids to be in when they're getting on and off a bus. But that story, speaking to that, talking about that, made it very personal. And, about kids perhaps, just kind of thankfully the car missed them, blah, blah, blah. But bringing those kinds of stories to the table is enlightening. So
Mhm.
those personal stories are so, so important.
It connects, the ask with the issue in a very personal level. When I had the opportunity on the local level to advocate for a grading policy change, our policy said that all of our children the Regents exam will be a very large percentage of their entire grade. And so we talked about the facts, to placing the emphasis on one test grade to their overall grade score. We talked about the statistics and facts and graduation rates and all of those great things. And when we talked, as the families who were there, when we talked about how it was impacting our children individually, what they were going through, the angst and anxieties or disappointments and letdowns they were experiencing and more, it put it into perspective that this policy was egregious and it was impacting real people. The people who they were there to educate and who their goal, the district's goal, was to get a large number of children, off into secondary education. So how were they doing that if they were putting these others down? So we were able to make that story connect directly to the ask, directly to the issue, how it affected them on a personal level.
And that falls under our important tips. As you see, the bottom one says connect the issue to the ask on a personal level. You also should learn about the person who you're meeting with. Know what are their what's their motivation, what's their if they're an elected official, what's their voting record, where do they stand on issues similar to those that you're bringing forth. It's always good to have that kind of information. You don't really want to be asking someone to to weigh in on an issue or do something for you on an issue when they actually have nothing that they can do for you on that issue. It puts them in an awkward position. Try to target, once you know who you're going to meet with, you can target your ask to something that they can affect a change on, because people in general, everybody would love to be able to affect change in a positive way. And if they can't help and their hands are tied, it's frustrating for them as it is for you. So if you can connect it, it's great. We do have a couple of questions. I know Kathy had sent a question and I can't find it. Which question you're talking about. Was it, are districts required to have a legislative action committee? To answer that, your region, PTA, should have and does have, as far as I know, a legislation or advocacy chair and or committee. So that would be a place to start. They are there as a resource for local units. Your regions are there, and if they don't have something that will help you, they can certainly connect you to either Sarah or myself. We are very, very reachable, and we can help you. And we actually have up on the New York State PTA a special advocacy committee that Sarah chairs, which is also a wonderful way to kind of propagate grassroots. Our goal here in New York State from an advocacy point is really to empower you, give you the tools you need, show you the way. Well, here's a resource. We're looking to help you. But you really have the power, especially in the local level, and you see the issues that are near and dear to you, where you see where change needs to happen. Sometimes it's just a tweaking, sometimes it's major, but you do see it. And there's things that happen in each and every region in New York State that, it may happen in Leatherstocking and it may not happen in Nassau. It may be happening in Suffolk and it's not happening in Westchester. So these kinds of things, bringing those issues forth, grassroots, and Sarah's committee is just like the perfect place to have that happen. So,
And I mean, the question, you know, do they all have to have them? And that's a really great question to turn back on yourself. Do you feel that this is something that has to happen? And therefore, does it need to be policy? Does it need to be regulation? Does it need to be law that these places must have those things? You know, dive deep. Find friends who can help you gather the facts and statistics and background to why that's vital to have. And there we go. I think we've got our first person who's ignited a little bit of passion there for advocacy.
and your first place to go if you're unsure of, gee, does PTA have a policy or a stance on anything? If you go to www.newyorkstatepta.org, you will click onto advocacy and you'll see tools. And underneath that, there's all kinds of things, including where we stand. And where we stand is a huge, huge document. And it took me years to figure out, I hate to say this, I'm almost embarrassed, years and years and years to actually figure out that every resolution that I went like yay with or nay with or made an amendment with at convention is in that document. And that document kind of gives you a platform with which and from which to advocate. There's tons of information, and it's organized by, I guess, advocacy on whatever the subject may be. All right, there's alcohol and tobacco, and there's health, and there's money,
Yep.
finance, there's tons of things. So yeah, it's not long enough that you'd have to curl up with as you would a big book, but it is a big document. That would be your first go-to, because that's going to show you, do we have something on the books that I don't have to, you know, make myself nuts. There it is. This gives me the wherewithal. I'm on the right track. I can take this and wave it around like a banner and garner my group and roll from there.
Now, something that Patrice and I didn't touch on was some of the semantics. You know, getting a vote of confidence from your PTA in order to be able to address a particular issue, what to say, how to say it, with your PTA's, you know, approval, with their, I mean, that's a different workshop. If you want to talk about the nuts and bolts of doing those things and hitting the check marks to make sure we're addressing that correctly according to our bylaws and procedures, we'll do another workshop. Right now, we're just trying to get you to feel comfortable and recognize that we really are all advocating. A lot of what we talked about in this slide, what do we want to say? We really emphasized on what do we want to say in a meeting with somebody. But what do we want to say if we're holding a town hall with people, if we're holding a panel of experts to raise an understanding to the background of an issue? The same would really apply. If we're doing a presentation from an expert on emergency preparedness, we still want them to address something very specific for our audience. What is it that we're trying to change? And what is it we want to raise awareness to? That's our ask. We're asking them to get information out of this workshop. Know what you're asking your presenter to talk to them about. You know, have them share the facts and the statistics and the stories behind why this information is important for them to get a better understanding of how they can relate to it. How can they use that in their lives and share it with their friends and neighbors. So it really is the same no matter what the setting is.
Right. And sometimes your advocacy you may find yourself, instead of the person who's got the issue or the person who's got to go out and get, you know, and find out what's going on and how it's going on, you may be the person who just simply facilitates an event sometimes, and this is near and dear to my heart, I love doing this. Sometimes you just need to bring the stakeholders into a room and have a conversation. And I love to do that on a region level and a unit level. And it can look, have an event. And it can look as simple as, gee, you've got a panel and you've got your local reps up there, and you've got your superintendent and your principal and your teachers union. And you can just have, there's always a hot topic going on in education. Oh, we always have tons of those. But just getting the information out and raising awareness to the audience, the PTA members, the community at large, coalition groups you might, invite. All of that is as important as trying to talk to a legislator. The information, raising the awareness of the people around you is really, really important, and it can be done very simply, or it can be done with couple of councils from different towns getting together and going to a local college with the same thing. And now you've got 5 towns worth of community members and 5 towns worth of people. And you've got your state people coming in with some of your local people. And then you're doing it regionally. And it's just really fabulous to raise awareness along those lines. So you may just be the facilitator. You may not be the voice, and that's really okay.
That's awesome. Thank you, Patrice. We have just a few moments left, so perhaps you might have another question in that chat box, Patrice, that we can address.
I see it too. Hold up.
And while she's looking, I mean, really,
yes, there is
someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Nothing's gonna get better. Just not.
We have a question from Nicole to everyone. How do we advocate during the pandemic when we are all waiting? What happens with school? For example, live teaching. Yeah. Well, here's where social media can come in a little bit. Go ahead, Sarah, you're going to say something.
Well, if we're able, right now, we are all participating in a Zoom webinar training. If everybody that you want to be talking to can participate through a platform such as this, or phone calls, or yelling down the street 6 feet apart from each other so you can talk, there's ways to get together to have those discussions and to ask those questions that we need to be asking. Back at the beginning, what is it that, what is the matter? What is the issue? What is the concern that we need to address? How can we address it? And are we going to be able to make an effectuated change for all the children? We can find creative ways to still have those conversations and come up with a plan. We cannot let a pandemic like this stop us from caring to make the world a better place for our children. And we'll find ways to get together and talk. And to
right, we'll create them. Exactly. Darlene also had a question that was a little further up, and thanks, Darlene, for repeating it. What could you do if your school leaders really don't recognize your PTSA as anything different than any other nonprofit organization? I'm a kind of get in your face kind of gal. That always isn't the best way. Invite them down. I think that PTAs and PTSAs and SEPTAs do wind up having the rap of being the cupcake, bake sale gals. And the reality is that we are diverse, we're smart, we are active, we are advocates, we are men, we are women, we are kids. Kids make excellent advocates. We need to re-educate our administrators and have them understand that it's not just, the 30 people that hit the meeting on Tuesday night. It's the, you know, however many units you've got, you know, X amount of units in your in your region or your district. It's the thousands of people who are PTA members and their voice that you are giving awareness to. So you have to do that re-education, because a lot of people get a little complacent, and if you've been an administrator, superintendent for a while, or you haven't had a positive experience with PTA, or all they see is you know, the boutique sales and the bake sales, they're really not understanding we're an advocacy organization. We are the largest child advocacy organization in the United States. So they have to understand that, and that's something they have to learn, and we have to teach that.
Powerful. It gets us the results that we need. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wrap up our workshop. Please, as Patrice mentioned before, we're very reachable. Excuse me, I have a tickle.
I want to thank Amani. She's been really good putting up all our web stuff and our emails. So thanks, Amani. She's our wellness coordinator at New York State PTA.
Yes, thank you very much, Amani. I want to remind everybody that's on our call, on our Zoom, to go back to your email, because at 4 o'clock is the mental health panel and our closing. And you'll have to click in on that link that was sent to you in the email. It's for startmeeting.com. Please go back to your email and see it. You won't want to miss our mental health panel, for sure.
Very important. And just bear in mind, you know, our whole purpose is to have you understand that Sarah and I and other people are just regular people, and with regular skills. And anybody can do this. It's not rocket science. You got it. And on the grassroots level, you have so much more power than you think you do.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you being here and for your patience with us.
Thank you.
And say goodbye to my buddy out there. What do I do?
Oh, I got it.
That's how I stop sharing.
We're good. You're good. You're good.
Bye, everyone.